Hey everyone, this is just for those who are interested, a walkthrough and explanations of the Mario Maker levels I put together for the contest, starting with Mushroom Farm. Okay, this was the first of these levels I put together, and I made a bunch of amateur mistakes. Partially because of inexperience, and partially because I hadn't unlocked a lot of the tools yet. First issue is that I accidentally made an area that's impossible to get out of. The intended solution was for you to hit this springboard here and bounce the mushroom onto it and follow it along the top of the level. You get a couple of mushrooms to start off, so you can take a hit on these munchers, grab the mushroom when it gets to the end, and then take another hit on these munchers, and then you're through. Almost nobody tried that way, and found a bunch of other solutions. I put Koopas up there to prevent you from just trying to run through it as Small Mario, and I made the bricks breakable so that you had to be careful not to jump too high or you'd smash them and the mushroom would fall through too early. This actually provided a bunch of unintended solutions, such as hitting the Koopas from underneath and knocking them down into the munchers to clear them away, or smashing the blocks past the Koopas and jumping up and squeezing through. But whatever. Not a big deal. Sometimes it's fun to find multiple solutions. I did put one of those giant amiibo mushrooms up here just for the heck of it. As far as I know, it's impossible to get. The death trap of raining spinies was a little mean because it was a beginner's trap, and I try to avoid those, although the reactions to it kind of made me laugh. I'm sorry. So yeah, the best course seems to be jumping on the flying Koopas to lure the spinies into dropping, then quickly jump on and off the ledge before it drops. Then, yes, after the early need to hold on to a mushroom, the level does a 180, and now you have a whole bunch of mushrooms you don't want. And if you accidentally get one, there's a piranha plant that you need to squeeze through this tiny gap to get to. I chose piranha plants for this ending segment, mostly because... Actually, I don't really remember why. I think it was so if you try to go through as Super Mario, they prevent you from going fast enough to make it through. The pits already make it impossible to jump your way through, so I guess there was no need for the piranha plants, but I don't know. Next level, Castle of Why Bother. When I set out to make these levels, the intention wasn't to make a bunch of really difficult levels where you die a lot, since I like to find more subtle and funny ways to be annoying, but somehow I ended up making this absurdly difficult. Okay, I guess there are some way harder levels out there. Anyway, the first thing I'd suggest doing is let Bowser kill himself, because otherwise he's gonna keep shaking the ground and causing you to get killed by fireballs or other monsters. Definitely make sure you get the star last. And if you can, try to get the Circle of Boos block second last, because it's a really annoying obstacle when you're trying to deal with everything else. I usually try to get the bloopers first so I can quickly take them out and not have to worry about them when I'm surrounded by boos. Once you have the bridge built, grab the star and blaze through as fast as you can. In the next part, you have a mushroom that spawns to allow you to get hit, but ledges that you can't go under unless you're small, so you have to time it so that you get hurt by the spikes so you can squeeze through, and then grab a mushroom while you're still invincible, and make it to the next spike, and keep doing this without a bullet hitting you at the wrong time. Then finally, there's just a whole bunch of enemies all bouncing and throwing stuff, and the only thing you can really do is grab a mushroom, run through, get hit, and manage to navigate all these note blocks while still invincible until you reach the end and hit the axe in a tiny gap between the ghosts. Easy as brain science. Next we have SquareOne. This one is pretty easy in concept. Just avoid mushrooms, otherwise you have to go all the way back to the beginning. The first part that is surprisingly the most unpredictable is these two springboards and the P-switch that releases them. Mostly I did this because you need the clown car to reach this area here, but once you lose the clown car, it might be impossible to get back up and you might get stuck forever. So the P-switch drops the springboards, and depending on where they end up when the switch runs out, you may end up with one spring on top of the other bouncing endlessly, or you may end up with a springboard inside the clown car. I don't know. It was kind of a weak solution because it's not consistent, but it leads to funny, unpredictable results. So then after waiting for the mushrooms to pass all the way through, for the first time you actually need a mushroom so you can take a hit from this Koopa shell and get through this door. Then you get the amiibo mushroom and you can bust your way out. Until I saw Airzonk World Champ play through this, I actually somehow didn't think about how it's possible to get hit by this one Koopa and lose it, and I didn't think of a workaround. It is possible to get stuck in this level. I guess this is what beta testing is for. Thanks for pointing that out. Ouch. Now, I try not to make levels that just outright kill you and try to find more subtle and insidious ways to get under your skin, but I just couldn't resist this one trap at the end, which actually did kill some players. but even if you don't expect it, it's quite possible to avoid it and grab the flag. Next is Bouncy Boo Cave. This one's one of the more annoying ones for sure. I don't like to play it myself. It's very random and there's a lot of luck involved. The idea is you have to kick a Koopa shell down here and get the spring to knock up the power-up so you can take a few hits while you smash your way through. The power-ups are really hard to catch with all the boos around, so this takes a lot of tries. If you lose track of the Koopa shell, there's a bullet bill shooter that launches a spiny shell that will have the same effect. You just need to move to the right enough to get it to try to shoot you. There's also the bonus effect that you can possibly catch it as a spiky hat, and that really helps with the boos. Once you get through all that, there's a conveyor belt. If you can avoid it and get through these turn blocks, you find a bunch of cannons that all shoot you at once. It's possible to dodge them and get over the cannons, but it's really tricky. Or you can just let the conveyor pull you off a cliff to find the secret area below. It seems to be much easier to find and get through, so I think most people just treat it like the normal route. The rest is pretty easy. There are invisible coin blocks to throw off your jump, but mostly this just freaks people out and doesn't outright kill them. Then we have Unwanted Gifts. Really simple concept to this one. You get spammed with mystery mushrooms, and every time you misstep, you accidentally have to collect a whole bunch in a row. And since they're all a random costume, you have to wait for a second or two for the transformation animation every single time. And you can collect around 5 to 8 all at once, so there's a lot of constant interruptions. The most common method to get through all this is to just run through and not miss any jumps on these annoying conveyors, but it's also possible to take a Lakito's Cloud and just ride it through to the end. If you miss one of the jumps in the second portion, there's a little hidden annoying Easter egg where a P-switch drops cannons that shoot even more mushrooms at you and force you to run through the maze again. Sprung. Okay, this one is vastly annoying. You can barely control where you move with all the note blocks and springboards, plus stuff is spawning at you from every angle. You'll get a star pretty quickly, which will prevent you from getting killed, but also make it impossible to grab a shell to break the blocks to the right. There are also bombs that can blow up the bricks, but they're blocked off so you can't really get at them. I find the easiest way to make it through is to use Yoshi to eat and spit out shells. You can also get him to spit away all the springboards and make it a little easier to move. A little. Once you get to the second area, once again you need to grab a shell, but you can't while it keeps hitting you with stars. Easiest solution is to stand at the very right corner and duck. The stars bounce, they're likely to bounce right over you, and then you can quickly grab a shell and break the bricks before another star hits you. A mushroom spawns here too, so you should be able to take a hit while you're struggling to do this. It's easier than it looks. Then you need to climb up to this upper area here and try to jump over the spikes and just enter this door. As for sink or don't, at first the intention was to make you stand on these donut blocks and try to sink through them without getting bounced away, but since you can just float through them from the side, it's kind of pointless. However, I still think it sort of has a psychological effect that makes people try to go through it the wrong way. There's not really a trick to getting through this area as far as I've noticed. It's largely luck-based, although it helps to try to collect a star as late as possible so you can keep it as long as you need to get through. It's also important to try to get this propeller cap just so you have an extra hit, although I do find it a little easier to get through if I'm small. Once through this part, you should swim up and to the left to get another propeller cap so you can make sure you can take enough hits to get through these donut blocks. Try to knock out the bullets and drop through as quickly as you can before the next one spawn. Just drop right through and hold still. Don't try to swim to avoid stuff, it'll just make things worse. Finally, stomp your way out. Luck is a huge factor in this. Sometimes you can get through really quickly, and other times it'll take forever. The best thing to do is to try to run through it quickly before the bottom gets filled up with Goombas, although it's worth getting this fire flower first to help you clear through them more quickly. Then if you get stuck stomping them for a while, just try to stick more to the right so that you can squeeze through without landing on the springs, and to make sure you collect the mushrooms that keep dropping and bouncing if and when you take a hit. That's all! And by the way, I have some new levels that I put up. Try these. Migraine Simulator was somewhat inspired by Lucagen's level titled Loud Noises. Yeah, I think you have an idea of what's in store here. Impossible Castle? I'm just gonna go ahead and give you guys the solution to this one because it's seriously unfair. I made this one seem as difficult as possible, requiring ridiculous reflexes to get through one challenge after another. The trick here is really simple. I put a hidden leaf and a star right here. Just grab them, run through while invincible, and fly over the stage. That's the trick. It's absurdly easy. Now that you know how to do it, go through and win so that those who can't beat it look at the statistics and wonder how so many people beat it so quickly. More levels when I get around to making more. Bye!